Thank you. It's great to be here. And I'm going to be talking about something that has been of great interest to me. I hope it'll be interesting to you. I've studied the brain for many years using technology, and recently I've been struck by how technology seems to be altering our lives and wondered how it's altering our brains. So to try to get at that question, it brings up issues of creativity and technology. And we know it's accelerating the pace of life. It's reducing the time for thoughtful reflection. But ironically, the internet and all this new technology was developed to free up time, to help us become more thoughtful and creative. Now, to get a better idea of some of these issues, we've heard about how Google might be making us stupid. And at UCLA, we wanted to ask what really is going on with Google. Is it making us smart? Is it making us stupid? So we raised a bit of money, got some collaborators together there, and we devised an experiment to try to understand how search is affecting our brains. Now, I wanted to know, what does the brain look like the first time it searches online? So I had to recruit people who had never searched online. I quickly learned I couldn't recruit them online. And so we got people like this. Congratulations, you're the last person on earth to get an email account. And then after looking for some time, we found some older people, about a dozen of them, who we called internet naive. And we matched them up with another dozen who were internet savvy, mostly women, well-educated. As far as we could tell, the only way the groups differed was according to their computer experience. Now, to do this experiment, we used an MRI scanner, and those of you who have been in the narrow tube know it's too narrow to get a computer in there. So we used these special goggles to show the volunteers either a bar, and we said concentrate on it so we could factor out what the brain does when it pays attention. Then we had another control task, reading a simulated book page. And then we had these simulated internet pages, and there was a little keyboard next to their side so they could operate a mouse. And here's what we found. Here we see the computer adding up what's happening in the brain. The colored areas show you where your brain is working if you're internet naive and you're reading a book page. So there's a little bit of activity in the visual area of the brain, memory, verbal areas, not too surprising. So here are internet naive people searching online for the first time. Looked the same. I was a little bit disappointed with the experiment. So we went on, we took the internet savvy people, and we had them search online, read a book page, looked the same. And here was the big payoff when we saw the internet savvy people searching online. There was more than twofold increased activity in the brain. So here's your brain reading a book, and here's your brain on Google or Bing. So the headlines were Google is making us smart, but we really didn't show that. We just found that if you had prior experience, it's activating your brain. Now, part two of the experiment, we took the internet naive people and we trained them. We said for an hour a day we want you to search online, and we found there were significant increases in brain activity in the front part of the brain, the thinking part of the brain that makes decisions, holds in short-term memory, the kinds of functions we know we need to use to search online. So here's what I think is happening in these kinds of experiments. Initially, when we're presented with an unusual task, we don't know what to do, and there's not much brain activity. Once we figure out a strategy, we see a surge of neurocircuitry activation. But once the task becomes routine, we see a decrease in activity representing brain efficiency. So what we're seeing today is a big booming business of brain fitness, and a lot of companies are developing different types of ways to train the brain. We're doing this at UCLA with our computer science department because we think we can do it, and we think we can innovate. We can combine physical training with mental training so that we can improve brain efficiency and brain health as we age. In fact, we've done experiments where we put people on healthy lifestyle programs, including brain training, memory training, physical training, and we find that it does activate certain parts of the brain that are important for memory. So what about this question? Is technology weakening our memory? If you ask people how many phone numbers they remember today, it's probably a lot fewer than before. And so there's this concern that somehow the PDA is shrinking your hippocampus. And my answer to that is we need to pick and choose what we learn in our biological memory. So names and faces, if you see somebody's face, you don't want to look up what their name is in your PDA, and so you want to use memory techniques. But for pretty much everything else, you can look that up. We also have to remember that just playing video games can train our brain. Surgeons who play video games make fewer errors in the operating room. So next time you have to have surgery, ask the surgeon how many hours a day he's playing World of Warcraft. It may have an impact on your health. We also know offline brain training, whether it's psychotherapy or anything else, can alter neurocircuits. So the key today is finding balance, what I call a brain gap between what's going on in the brain of digital natives and digital immigrants, and teach older people how to use the technology and younger people how to use their face-to-face human contact skills, which are tremendously powerful. Now, I just wanted to comment on the future brain because we're looking forward in this conference today. And we know there's a lot of technology developing on brain-computer interface, and we can put sensors on a person's head and they can operate a computer. So in the future, instead of wearing a Bluetooth, what I predict is you'll be wearing a headband or maybe an earpiece, and you'll think a thought and it will be transmitted wirelessly to your friends. So if you want to have coffee, they'll hear that thought on their PDA, they'll meet you, and you can sip your cappuccino. You don't even have to talk, you can read each other's minds. But in terms of spam, you may have to wear tinfoil hats to protect yourself as you walk down the street. So that's one scenario, and I really believe this is feasible in the near future. We have the technology. Another question, will the computers actually read our minds in terms of privacy? And I think there's a possibility of that. At Carnegie Mellon University, they are developing experiments where computers can read persons' thoughts. So what about this question, is search the end of memory or the opportunity of collective wisdom? I don't think it's the end of memory, but I think it's altering the way we use our memory, becoming searchers and gatherers. We're not becoming memorizers. But what we have is a huge opportunity. Instead of our limited biological memory stores, we have an external hard drive that we can optimize, the World Wide Web. Now, how will it affect collective wisdom? Depends on how we use it. We could spend a lot of time using it in a way that is destructive to our humanity and our wisdom, or we can expand it. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, that was fascinating. Thank you. Right.